Imagine a prison where the inmates have no desire to escape, a society where control is maintained not through violence but through gratification. Nearly a century ago, Aldous Huxley envisioned this in Brave New World. He understood that the future wouldn't be built with chains and whips, but with endless fun and sensory delights. While the ancient Greeks distinguished between fleeting hedone, pleasure, and true eudaimonia, flourishing, Huxley showed us a world drowning in the former while losing the latter forever. The Greeks did not understand eudaimonia as happiness in the modern sense. The word itself reveals something much, much deeper. Daimon, to be in alignment with one's daimon, not a demon, but an inner guiding principle, a formative intelligence of the soul. To live well for them was not to feel good. It was to live in accordance with something within you that is more ordered, more truthful than your impulses or your beliefs or anything else. A society that replaces eudaimonia with pleasure does not simply become distracted, it becomes lost. When people are busy being entertained, they question nothing. They don't struggle, they don't protest, and they don't contemplate the deeper meaning of existence. It is a modern twist on Plato's allegory of the cave. People remain seated before shadows, but today, those shadows are no longer a lack of understanding. They are high-definition images of pleasure that keep us willingly sedated. What has changed is not the structure of the cave, but the quality of the shadows. They are no longer vague reflections, they are engineered experiences. And the most dangerous part is this. The prisoners are now emotionally invested in the illusion. They don't just watch the shadows, they identify with them. The architecture of the golden trap. Huxley discovered a terrifying truth about power. Rulers no longer need force if they can provide constant distraction. In his vision, no one suffers, but no one truly lives. The secret lies in the numbing of the senses. Entertainment becomes a smokescreen. Streaming services, reality shows, social media feeds, they function as a drug that keeps the mind in a state of lethargy. But here is the cleverest trick. Huxley realized that pain triggers rebellion. When people suffer, they unite to demand change. Pleasure does the opposite. It isolates. It retreats every individual into their own private world of personal fun. Each person inhabits their own golden cell, decorated exactly how they like it. This is where pleasure becomes political. Not because it is imposed, but because it fragments. Each individual becomes a self-contained unit of consumption. No shared struggle, no shared direction, no shared meaning. Just parallel lives scrolling next to each other. This control works because it is offered generously and, more importantly, because we choose it. No one forces us to scroll for hours or stay glued to a screen. We do it because it feels good. It is easy, it is comfortable. It is a voluntary prison. The happiness factory. The genius of the system is that it does not look evil. Who doesn't want to be happy? Who doesn't want to avoid discomfort? Yet, as Huxley warned, artificial happiness is a form of living death. The individual stops growing, stops questioning, and stops being truly human. We have built the world's largest factory, not for cars or clothes, but for manufactured joy. There is something profoundly unnatural about a happiness that requires constant input. Real fulfillment has rhythm. It includes tension, it includes effort, even discomfort. What we are offered instead is a flat emotional line artificially maintained. Not joy, not suffering, just sedation. We have been transformed from citizens into stimulus-addicted consumers. Think about the last advertisement you saw. It works by creating a desire that wasn't there, operating entirely on your subconscious. Ask yourself, which of your thoughts, feelings, and desires are truly yours, and which are implants? Searching for today's Soma. In Brave New World, Soma was a drug that solved every emotional problem. Sad? Take Soma. Anxious? Take Soma. Today we don't have one pill. We have 1,000 digital equivalents plus pills. You likely took Soma today without realizing it. Social media, pornography, mindless consumption, the misuse of medication. In a way, Soma has evolved. It is no longer something you take, it is something you live inside. A continuous stream of stimulation that prevents the emergence of deeper states, not by force, but by substitution. These bandages cover infected wounds, and the pain vanishes for a moment, but the problem remains. It is still there. The voluntary slavery of the soul. There is a thin line between wanting something and being a slave to that desire. As Pythagoras said, no man is free who is a slave to his passions. Plato warned that excessive freedom turns into the most extreme slavery. True freedom is not doing whatever you want, it is having sophrosini, the inner capacity to hold the reins of your own soul. Sophrosini, not repression, but inner proportion. The ability to remain whole. Without it, desire does not disappear, it multiplies, and eventually it governs. When we cannot be alone with our thoughts, without distraction, we are no longer free. We become predictable. Having read Plato, something becomes deeply unsettling, because Plato speaks of the soul as self-moving, not something carried by forces, but something that contains within itself the principle of motion. A being that moves itself. But what happens when that soul becomes absorbed entirely in appearances, in pleasure, in consumption, in passive obedience? What happens when it no longer recognizes what moves it, whether it is the source of its own movement or whether it is being moved by something else? Because at that point, something subtle begins to collapse. Not externally, internally. The soul does not immediately lose its motion. It loses the awareness of its motion. And without that awareness, what we call movement, slowly turns into reaction. And reaction is not life, it is a mechanical continuation. So the real danger is not that we are controlled, but that we no longer know whether we are the ones who move or the ones being moved. And then a deeper question emerges. What happens to a soul that no longer moves itself? Is there such a thing as the death of the soul? Be aware in your mind, for the sleep of it resembles true death. Democritus. The system loves predictable people. It knows exactly what you will do when you are bored, sad, or angry. You aren't a rebel, you are a programmed reaction. Even our protests have been accounted for. We vent, we release, we return. From Huxley to Idiocracy. Have you seen the film Idiocracy? A world where intelligence collapses into entertainment. It was satire. Today it feels like a documentary. If Socrates woke up today, would he recognize us? Or would he see a civilization in psychological hibernation? He was warning us about it. Perhaps the real question is not whether we are controlled, but whether we can still notice it. Because control at its highest form is invisible. It is easy to blame systems, but the deeper question is this: why do we choose this? Because comfort is seductive. Because distraction is easier than confrontation. Because facing oneself is difficult. The most powerful prison is not the one that holds your body. It is the one that shapes your desires. And maybe that is the final illusion, that we believe we are choosing, while never questioning what shaped the chooser. And the moment you begin to question that, something rare happens. Not rebellion, not escape, but awareness. And that is where freedom begins.